Welcome back to Civilian Tactical Science Lab Edition, and though I'm dressed like a middle-aged IT dad, I promise we're getting to science. Our scientific instruments will be this box of 9mm and a shotgun. But why 9mm with 12 gauge? Well, in my hand, I have a clever piece of equipment that accepts a round of 9mm, loads seamlessly into a shotgun, and allegedly it allows you to shoot 9mm out of a shotgun with accuracy. Allegedly. You see, inside this adapter, they have a rifled barrel, which they say allows that 9mm to stay incredibly accurate, but I noticed one major flaw. So today we're gonna put this thing to the test, figure out how it works, and also if you should spend your hard-earned doubloons on it. First off, a basic function test. Does it fire? Yeah. It seemed to fire, and pulling it out, you got that shell kind of just stuck in there. You just got to shake it out. Then it looks like it's totally cleared and ready to fire again. Okay, so it fires, but I think accuracy is going to be our biggest challenge yet, because shotguns shoot a group of projectiles, which means their sighting system does not need to be pinpoint accurate. Our shotgun simply has a rail with these little bead sights on top. This is the G-Force Arms GF5 shotgun, and this is standard across tons of waterfowl and pheasant shotguns. However, when it comes to accuracy, a single round of 9mm does need to be pinpoint accurate in order to get your desired effect. So we're going to test accuracy, but we also need to test how slow will this thing make you. There's a bunch of extra steps to shooting it. And as our benchmark, of course, we just have a regular semi-auto pistol. Here's the time it took to shoot 5 rounds. Now let's do the same thing with our 12 gauge 9mm adapter to see how long it takes to shoot the same 5 rounds. Let's start that timer now. It's interesting, these shells go everywhere you don't want them to. And we got one more. There's our time. Now, though I don't have a precise shot timer on me, something tells me that this adapter did take much longer. But I think this thing probably has some major pros that make this thing so dang useful. First up, our 9mm to 12 gauge adapter is incredibly easy to use. You simply slide a round of 9mm into it, just like that. Grab your shotgun. You're gonna want a double barrel or single shot shotgun for this. And you just drop it in. And just like that, you are ready to fire. That's pretty dang simple. Reason number 2 these things are so useful is ammo variability. This is a regular round of 12 gauge birdshot. You can shoot it just like you would normally. But in a pinch, if you run out of the ammunition that your shotgun normally has, you can simply slide this thing inside, grab a round of 9mm. Maybe this is all you could barter for and it's the apocalypse. You slide it in there and you can still defend yourself with your shotgun. Or potentially hunt for the food you may need, as long as it's small game. And on the vein of small game, another benefit could be that if you're shooting small game, you don't need to fill it full of lead or blow it up with a 12 gauge slug in order to take it out. A single round of 9mm can do the trick if you've got the adapter for it. Another massive pro to this thing is gonna be that it's actually relatively cheap. It's only around 30 bucks and it allows your shotgun to shoot 9mm in a pinch. And because it's not terribly expensive, it's not horrible if it's not the best thing since sliced bread. It's just a little bit of utility you get from a very affordable device. And finally, this can actually be a great tool for training new shooters on a shotgun platform. I want you to take a look at the recoil difference between the 2 rounds I'm about to fire. First up, we have a regular round of 12 gauge birdshot, and let's fire. 3, 2, 1. You saw that recoil. Now, you take out your little adapter, you slide it in. Watch this recoil now. It's virtually nothing. For a new shooter, this can be incredibly appealing because the recoil of a 12 gauge, it's a little bit more than a new shooter might want. Of course, you could use a lower powered shotgun, but this would allow you to use a shotgun you may already have laying around, and it only costs 30 bucks instead of the price of an entirely new shotgun that shoots a lighter load. Now for the cons. These are gonna be all the reasons why you might not want to buy one of these for yourself. The first is that you cannot use it on guns with an extractor. This is a Mossberg 590. It has dual extractors, and so this thing is just gonna get stuck in there. Or if it does try to eject, it's really going to chew up your extractor and just cause all sorts of damage to your shotgun. You do not want to do that whatsoever. Con number 2, you already saw it, this thing is slow. However, that's just for reloading. For a first shot, it takes just as long as a regular shotgun. It's just once you get to getting that shell out, you kind of have to whack it a bit. And next, though it can give you versatility in allowing you to shoot other types of ammunition, it does cost $30. So some people may say, just buy more 12 gauge ammunition so that when you're in a pinch, you have more and you don't need to shoot 9mm out of your shotgun. Of course, another aspect is it's just an additional part, so it makes one more thing that could go wrong. But the last one is, well, it might not be accurate. And that's the one we're gonna put to the test. It's not a con yet, but we're about to find out if it is. This is where we're gonna wanna do our handgun comparison. Taking a look at this handgun right here, this is the Shadow Systems DR920P. This is the size of the adapter. The barrel on this thing has about an extra 1.5 inches of length, which in theory allows that bullet to get more momentum, allowing it to fly further more accurately. Which might make you think that this thing is going to be inaccurate. However, let me show you something. This is a Canik Mete MC9. If you take a look at the barrel length on this thing, it's actually exactly the same as our shot shell adapter. So it's about the same length as micro 9mm or compact 9mm barrels. So accuracy really shouldn't be an issue because of the length of the barrel. I personally think it's all gonna come down to the sights on a shotgun. So here's how we're gonna do the accuracy test. I have a 20-yard target, a 50-yard target, and a 100-yard target. Each one is a man-sized IPSC target, and then in the middle we have a little critter. And this is gonna give us 2 important data pieces. It's gonna tell us, can you use this to hunt critters? But it's also gonna tell us, can you use this to defend yourself against malicious bipeds? Because this is a human-sized target. Now, before we do that, it's time for today's sponsor, and since we don't have a sponsor, you guys are just gonna get an additional science experiment test. Let's see if our handgun with a longer barrel gets more of a splash from our water jug than the 9mm fired out of this adapter. Because that barrel is just a little bit longer on the handgun, I'm wondering what the energy difference is going to be like. First for the handgun, 3, 2, 1. Oh, that was pretty dang powerful. Now, part of that's due to the fact that for this little experiment, we're using the Defiant Munitions 9mm defensive round, which is absolutely gnarly. So now that we've got our shotgun loaded up, here's my ploy to finally get a sponsor for these long form video segments. You see, once upon a time, I started paying for my CCW Safe membership. Their concealed carry insurance. In the case of a self-defense incident, they cover your legal expenses and a bunch of other help. Now, I do pay for this all myself, but I think if I can get enough people to go and sign up for CCW Safe, they might pay to sponsor this channel. Again, it's something I've been paying for over a year all myself. So if you need concealed carry insurance, go to ccwsafe.us. Maybe if enough of you sign up, I'll get them to turn this into an affiliate code and I'll actually be able to make money to buy more water jugs and weird adapters like this one. 3, 2, 1. Oh, wow. Let's play those both back side by side and you tell me which one you think had a little bit more pop. Personally, I think the handgun had a little bit more in it. Now on to our accuracy test. First up, 5 rounds at 20 yards. Man, that took forever. That was 5 rounds at 20 yards. Now let's go out to 50 yards. All right, that's 50 yards. Now let's go on to 100. All right, that's it. Now it's time to go and see the results. So taking a look at our targets, we see something very interesting. I'm absolutely shocked by this. Now I did hit this with birdshot, just so you guys know I'm not pulling shots. At 20 yards, we're smacking that target dead center. Something you're gonna notice about this is look at how dirty my hands are after loading and shooting 30 rounds, because you have to pull this thing out, you're touching it, you're getting that soot and lead on your hands. So keep that in mind if you're gonna shoot one of these things a lot. This guy got 1, 2, 3, 4, and a little bit of a pulled flyer right here, 5. So at 20 yards, it's perfectly acceptable for A-zone hits and even smacking a little varmint if you need to. Here's where it got weird. From our 50-yard target, the shots were all actually pulling onto our 20-yard target. We got 3 hits that were way to the right, and then you're gonna see a hole here and here. That was actually from our 100-yard target. He is totally untouched as well. Those were fragments from the rock. It missed so horribly it was hitting low, smacking the rock, and sending rocks into our first target. Somehow we shot at all of them, and everything landed on our 20-yard target. Guys, that is the most important information you could take away today. That is the do or die for this adapter. So what are my final thoughts? When it comes to these shot shell adapters, they will smack just as hard as a handgun. We saw that in our water test. They do allow your shotgun to be incredibly versatile, shooting many other rounds. 9mm is not the only one you can get. There's many others. It's a ton of fun because of the low recoil. It could be a good training option if somebody wants to learn how to shoot a shotgun and you've only got a 12 gauge lying around, and it's only $30, but there's a big but.
What did he say?
You can only use this effectively at around 20 to maybe 35 yards if you really practice. Now, it would be interesting to mount a red dot optic on here, but I really don't think that is feasible for shotguns like this guy. So is it worth your hard-earned coin? Well, if you're gonna grab one for 30 bucks, I say why not? But they do come in packs that have every single caliber, and those cost over $100, and I would steer clear of these things at that price. I hope you found this video extremely useful. Make sure to comment for the algorithm, and let me know how we should use Billy Buckshot in our next video. Subscribe for more.